The Republican Party has always been a coalition of different currents: populists and establishment figures, nationalists and internationalists, rural America, and suburban conservatism. In the post-Trump era, two names stand out as potential heirs to the presidency: J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. Their trajectories could not be more different. Vance, the Appalachian-born author turned venture capitalist, turned vice president, embodies the populist energy that reshaped the GOP. Rubio, the Cuban-American senator turned Secretary of State, represents the establishment wing, tempered by years of foreign policy experience. Together, they symbolize the competing visions of the Republican Party's future. Imagining their presidencies reveals not only their personal ambitions, but also the broader struggle over America's direction. J.D. Vance's rise is a story of cultural resonance. His memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, published in 2016, captured the struggles of working-class white America in the Rust Belt and Appalachia. It became a bestseller and a cultural touchstone, explaining to many readers the despair and dislocation that fueled Donald Trump's rise. Vance parlayed his fame into a career in venture capital, but politics soon beckoned. In 2022, he won a Senate seat in Ohio, positioning himself as a populist conservative aligned with Trump's nationalist agenda. His rhetoric emphasized forgotten communities, skepticism of global elites, and a hard line on immigration. By 2024, he was chosen as Trump's running mate, cementing his role as heir apparent. As vice president, Vance has cultivated ties with grassroots conservatives, though reports suggest he sometimes clashes with MAGA activists who find him less responsive than Trump. Still, his rural appeal remains strong, and polls show he commands significant support among Republican voters. If Vance were to become president, his administration would likely emphasize nationalist economic policies. He has spoken often about the need to rebuild domestic manufacturing, protect American workers from globalization, and achieve energy independence. His presidency would probably continue Trump's skepticism toward international institutions, favoring bilateral deals over multilateral frameworks. On immigration, Vance would likely pursue strict enforcement, framing it as a defense of cultural identity and economic security. His rural appeal could translate into policies favoring agriculture, small towns, and domestic industry. Yet his relative inexperience compared to longtime politicians leaves him vulnerable to criticism about readiness for the presidency. Critics argue that his populism risks alienating moderates, while supporters see him as the authentic voice of forgotten America. Marco Rubio's trajectory is different. Born to Cuban immigrants in Miami, Rubio rose quickly in Florida politics, becoming Speaker of the Florida House before winning a Senate seat in 2010. He was hailed as a rising star, a young conservative with charisma and policy depth. In 2016, he ran for president, positioning himself as a mainstream conservative alternative to Trump. His campaign faltered, and he returned to the Senate, where he focused on foreign policy and national security. By 2024, he was appointed Secretary of State, giving him visibility and gravitas. In that role, Rubio has emphasized American leadership abroad, support for allies, and a hawkish stance on adversaries like China and Iran. His Cuban-American heritage gives him resonance with Hispanic voters, a demographic increasingly important to the GOP coalition. Polls show his support among independents has climbed significantly, making him a credible establishment candidate. If Rubio were to become president, his administration would likely prioritize foreign policy strength. He has long argued that America must lead globally, countering adversaries and supporting allies. His presidency would probably emphasize rebuilding alliances, strengthening NATO, and confronting China's rise. On domestic policy, Rubio would likely balance populist impulses with establishment stability, supporting tax reform, education initiatives, and family-friendly policies. His appeal lies in his ability to bridge traditional conservatism with a modernized outlook. He could present himself as a unifying figure for Republicans who want Trump-era energy, but with more discipline and global credibility. Critics argue that his establishment ties make him less appealing to populists, while supporters see him as the statesman the GOP needs. Both Vance and Rubio operate under the long shadow of Donald Trump. By 2028, Trump will be 82, but his influence over the party remains decisive. Vance benefits from incumbency as vice president, positioning him as the natural successor. Rubio, as Secretary of State, gains credibility and visibility, but must navigate Trump's dominance. Reports suggest Trump insiders increasingly see Rubio as a viable successor, while Vance risks alienating parts of the base. The contest between Vance and Rubio is not just about personalities, but about the future direction of the Republican Party. Vance represents continuity with Trump's populist revolution, while Rubio offers a return to establishment conservatism with a modernized internationalist edge. Imagining a Vance presidency reveals a country leaning further into populist nationalism. His policies would likely emphasize protectionism, immigration restriction, and cultural conservatism. He would frame his presidency as a defense of ordinary Americans against elites, both domestic and global. His rhetoric would resonate in rural communities, but might alienate suburban moderates. His foreign policy would probably be skeptical of alliances, favoring transactional deals. Critics would warn of isolationism, while supporters would hail his defense of sovereignty. His presidency would be marked by cultural battles, economic nationalism, and a continuation of Trump's populist energy. Imagining a Rubio presidency reveals a country leaning toward establishment conservatism with internationalist strength. His policies would likely emphasize foreign policy leadership, economic reform, and coalition building. He would frame his presidency as a restoration of American leadership, balancing populist energy with global credibility. His rhetoric would resonate with moderates and independents, but might alienate populists. His foreign policy would emphasize alliances, confronting adversaries, and supporting democracy abroad. Critics would warn of interventionism, while supporters would hail his statesmanship. His presidency would be marked by foreign policy assertiveness, domestic reform, and a return to establishment conservatism. The contrast between Vance and Rubio reflects the broader struggle within the Republican Party. Vance embodies the populist energy that reshaped the GOP, appealing to rural America and cultural grievances. Rubio embodies the establishment wing, appealing to moderates and emphasizing foreign policy leadership. Their rivalry could define the post-Trump era, shaping the GOP's identity for years to come. The choice between them is not just about personalities, but about visions of America's future. Vance offers nationalism and cultural conservatism. Rubio offers internationalism and establishment stability. Both have strengths and vulnerabilities, and their contest would be one of the most fascinating in modern politics. To expand further, one must consider the historical parallels. Vance's trajectory resembles that of populist figures like William Jennings Bryan, who spoke for rural America against elites. Rubio's trajectory resembles that of establishment figures like George H.W. Bush, who emphasized foreign policy leadership and coalition building. Their rivalry echoes past struggles within the GOP, between Goldwater conservatives and Rockefeller moderates, between Reagan populism and Bush internationalism. The outcome will shape not only the party, but the country. One must also consider the demographic shifts. America is becoming more diverse, with Hispanic voters playing an increasingly important role. Rubio's heritage gives him resonance with this demographic, while Vance's appeal lies in rural white America. The contest between them reflects the demographic future of the GOP. Will it remain rooted in rural populism, or will it expand to embrace diversity through establishment figures like Rubio? The answer will shape the party's viability in national elections. Finally, one must consider the global context. The world is entering a period of geopolitical turbulence, with China rising, Russia resurgent, and alliances strained. A Vance presidency would likely emphasize sovereignty and skepticism of alliances, while a Rubio presidency would emphasize leadership and coalition building. The choice between them is not just about domestic politics, but about America's role in the world. Vance offers nationalism and sovereignty. Rubio offers internationalism and leadership. The outcome will shape not only America's domestic future, but its global role. In conclusion, J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio represent two paths to the presidency. Vance, the populist heir apparent, channels the energy of forgotten America, emphasizing nationalism and cultural conservatism. Rubio, the establishment statesman, emphasizes foreign policy leadership and coalition building. Their rivalry reflects the broader struggle within the Republican Party between populism and establishment conservatism, nationalism and internationalism, rural America and suburban moderates. Imagining their presidencies reveals not only their personal ambitions, but also the broader struggle over America's direction. The post-Trump era will be defined by this contest, and the future of the GOP, and perhaps the country will hinge on whether America chooses the populist path of J.D. Vance or the establishment path of Marco Rubio. And that wraps up today's deep dive from the Situation Room. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below with your thoughts. Don't forget to follow us for more global analysis and hit that notification bell so you never miss the next Situation Room update. See you in the next one.